So some philosophical beliefs that I can relate to and would like to use in my classroom come from William Glasser, and he believed that students are less likely to misbehave when the curriculum has meaning as and enjoyable for students. It's important for the students to have choices in the things that they're learning about at school and the activities that they choose, and it just allows them to be creative and have more interest in what they're actually learning instead of having a teacher tell them what to do, because sometimes that can backlash. And then also the philosopher Frederick Jones, he believes that nonverbal language is key in the classroom. It is important to utilize our body language, facial expression, gestures, eye contact, and physical proximity to retain control in the classroom. So thinking back to when I was in school and even observing teachers now, when teachers are walking around the classroom, not necessarily saying anything, but just watching the students, giving them nonverbal cues. I think students can really learn from that and know that they know what they're expected of if the teacher is walking around and checking on what they're doing. And you don't always have to say something to get your students to understand what you're trying to teach them. So some classroom rules. I like the idea of having the students involved with making the classroom rules. That way they know what is expected of them and they have, once again, choice in what they are doing at school every day. Obviously, there would be guidance with this, especially with younger students. The teacher kind of giving them ideas of what the classroom rules should be and things like that. And this would be established on the very first day, so students know right away the routine, the procedure, what exactly is expected of them. Some rewards and incentives that I plan on using. I plan on incorporating technology in my classroom, and one of the ways I will do this is by using the Class Dojo app. This is a point system for the teachers, students, and parents to track the students' behavior. They get green points and red points. Obviously, green is for doing well, and red is for not doing so well, maybe getting off track, having some behavior issues that day. I have seen this firsthand in a classroom before, and I find it very effective. The students are engaged and seem to stay focused and behave to get that green point. They try their best to win and get that green point. I plan on rewarding the students with the most green points at the end of the week with an activity of their choice. So just another way of incorporating choice and option for them to kind of do what they want and to use their interest in the classroom. How I will handle misbehavior. I got this from the teacher panel, but to praise publicly and punish privately. So any misbehavior in my classroom, I will deal with on a one-on-one basis with the student. If it's necessary, I may involve the parents, but I find it very uncomfortable for the student and the rest of the class when a teacher calls out a student publicly in front of the class for maybe a misbehavior or something that they didn't follow directions or something. I don't like the idea of calling them out and making them feel embarrassed. It makes them, I think, get off track even more because they're so conscious of what everyone else is thinking of them. So I just think the best way to handle that is one-on-one. And if it gets to be a lot, there can be behavior plans or different strategies that can be used for that individual student. So communication plan in my classroom. I plan to communicate a lot with the parents of my students. They are a huge part of their child's life and deserve to know what is going on when their child is at school. I really like the idea of like weekly newsletters. So either I could give the parents the option to either have that emailed or have a physical paper copy to hang on their fridge or whatever for that week. It just lets the parents know what we were up to that week, what we learned, and then also maybe upcoming events or activities or things that they should be aware of to let their student know and to help them be prepared for that. I do plan to send individual emails to parents if that child has a specific individual need. And then I also plan to make parent-teacher conferences as effective as possible. I know sometimes these can kind of be put off to the side and not really taken seriously, but I plan to really use that time effectively and let the parent know how their student is doing in school, kind of more on a deeper level, just instead of like, oh, your student is doing well in this subject and needs work on this subject. I really plan to let the parents know exactly what their student is doing in my classroom. Some first day routines that I plan on doing. On the very first few days of school, I plan to establish the classroom rules right away. Like I said before, I will include my students in this process so they know exactly what is expected of them. This will establish the classroom routine for that year, which can be changed if necessary. I also plan to be as open and welcoming as possible. My classroom is where my students will be spending most of their time that year, and it is important for them to feel at home and welcome in my classroom. Some of the times the teacher is spending more time with the students than their actual parents are at home. So I think it's important to create that kind of homey feel and make me very approachable for students who may need me. I plan to watch and take notes of each student individually. So I'll need to figure out each student's needs and wants and how they can reach their full learning potential. I think doing this on the first week of school is really effective. It can help with your seating chart if you see that during the first few days students are misbehaving next to each other. They can be split up, or if a student is having a hard time seeing or paying attention in the back, you can move them up. Just another way to kind of get to know your students on an individual level. And I also plan to communicate with the parents right off the bat so they feel involved with everything that is going on in our classroom. Looking at the power of words, teaching language, so what we say to students and how we say it, is one of the most powerful teaching tools. It kind of establishes the whole environment of your classroom just by the way of speaking. Our language can either lift our students up or tear them down. It can help build positive relationships or cause distrust, which obviously you would want to lift students up and build positive relationships, and just having a welcoming tone and being very approachable and letting your students know that they can come to you for anything. It shapes how students think, act, and learn in the classroom. So looking at an inclusive classroom, are classrooms where students and teachers work together to create an environment in which everyone feels safe, supported, and encouraged. It allows students to reach their full learning potential. So you don't want to have anyone feel like they are left out or not welcome or not a part of your classroom. You really want to meet each individual need and I don't know, the students have to feel welcome and like they belong. I will incorporate diversity in the curriculum, so depending on who is in my classroom, I want to make that their needs met. I will use different types of teaching strategies, and I will take the time to assess my classroom on a regular basis and get feedback from my students. So if there are things where students are feeling uncomfortable or unwelcome, I want to be aware of that and be able to change that for them. I will do whatever I can to make my students feel safe and comfortable enough to share their own ideas and opinions in my classroom.